Victor Davis Hanson, quote, Rome worked when foreigners crossed through its borders to become Romans. It failed when newcomers fled into the empire and adhered to their own cultures.
Yes.
Close quote. Explain that.
Well, historically, there's three elements to immigration that adjudicate whether it's failed or successful. One, is it diverse? When people come into Rome, do they come into Rome from all over the Mediterranean or the Eastern world, or do they just come from across the Danube and the Rhine,
Right,
as they did in the 5th century? Number two, is it measured? Do people come in numbers that so one immigrant meets 10 natives, or one person from Gaul, or one person from Poland then meets 10 Italians, and they learn how to assimilate and
right,
intermarry and integrate? Or do they come en masse and create enclaves? And then number three, do they come under some legal auspices and learn the language, and it's measured and it's some degree meritocratic? And if those conditions have been met, as they have been mostly in American history, then it works wonderfully. It enriches the body politic. People are invigorated by these new people who want to be American more than they do. However, if you allow it not to be diverse, but largely from one area,
Mexico
or Latin America, then the people who are coming are not going to assimilate quick enough, because they're going to be an en bloc. And if they do it illegally and they don't know English, they have further obstacles to overcome. And if it's not meritocratic, then we have to tell the brain surgeon from Kenya, or we have to tell the accountant from South Korea, or we have to tell the nuclear physicist from Argentina, sorry, you just didn't happen to live close enough to the Rio Grande, so you can't come. You may be legal, you may have a skill set that we need, but this is not how we're going to adjudicate it. And it doesn't seem that that's going to be either fair or legal. So we need to get immigration diverse from as many different places as possible,
so that you don't get overwhelmed by a single
one
culture,
particular
a single
group, and more
culture.
importantly, that one particular group is not used by domestic political parties for their own electoral calculations, as it happened in the 19th century. And then it has to be legal, it has to be in numbers that can be assimilated, and it has to be meritocratic. It has to have a system why we say you can come and you can't. And we don't have that now.
Victor, the Wall Street Journal this past summer, quote, increasing net annual immigration by 50% a year would increase GDP growth on average from 1.7% to 2% a year over the next 35 years. It would also mean more workers per retiree, reducing the stress on Medicare and Social Security, close quote.
According to
Let them in, it'll boost economic
according to the
growth.
Wall Street Journal, if that calculus was correct, why not let in 50 million? Because the GDP would grow even bigger. And the answer is that the Wall Street Journal thinks in terms of profit and loss, but not in culture and social life and stability. I came up here yesterday.
In other words, you're willing to grant that within some range, more immigrants might produce economic growth, but the other kinds of costs are too high.
I don't think they're calibrating certain costs, and by that I mean, I came up here yesterday. Somebody who was
from Southern California.
Somebody who
Okay,
was
from
here
the Valley.
illegally, was in a semi and flipped it and blocked the entire 6 lanes of the 99 freeway. Last week, some gangbangers, for the first time in the history of my local school, shot an automatic weapon and closed down a football game. First time it ever happened. So there are social problems when you bring so many people, and the host, us, no longer believes in the melting pot, but has rebranded it the salad bowl, and we feel it's hurtful, unfair, not right, not to assimilate, integrate, and intermarry people. The tragedy of all this is that people who came in the past, i.e. before 30 years ago, and they're in my own family who are Mexican-American. I have a sister-in-law who's Mexican-American, I have nieces and nephews. It worked perfectly. They had the same experience as the Italian-Americans of the 19th century. Today, if I say to you, is Rudy Giuliani or the Cuomos, what political party? Cuomo, Giuliani, you wouldn't know. You would say, well, one's Democrat and one's Republican, because it's incidental, not essential to their character.
Right.
Because they've been assimilated. We don't have an Italian-American studies department in the way that we have La Raza. Nobody in the Italian-American community says, I'm a member of La Raza with 2 Z's, the way Mussolini said. They say they don't do it because they have no need to, because they've been assimilated. And You know, everybody has this problem. I grew up my father only bought used Volvos. We had to eat Swedish crackers. We had to buy Electrolux's vacuum cleaner
Because you were good Swedes.
because we were good Swedes.
But
And
your father served in the Second World War.
I
He
said
was
to
a
my
better
dad when I'm
American.
in high school, Dad, they're all played out. Kingsburg is no longer a Swedish community. They're all intermarried. It doesn't exist anymore. And he said, yeah, you're right. And I didn't learn Swedish. So the point I'm making is that if we were to go back to that system, then all of this political, ethnic, chauvinistic identity politics would die on the vine. But too many people are invested in it, and it's been very lucrative for a number of people's careers.